Hi, I'm Chef Gail Sokol and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're making the fudgiest sour cream chocolate cookies you will ever have in your life, and they're salted. So I like to sprinkle a little sea salt on top before they go in the oven. They are amazing. They melt in your mouth and they have like this triple threat of chocolate. So you're going to add chocolate 3 times and they are incredible. Now, before we get started, I'd like you to push the notification button because I'd like you to see all my videos and tips as they come up. So I don't want you to miss anything. So these cookies are super simple to make. They use the creaming method of mixing. And we are preheating our oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I have 2 sheet pans that I've lined with parchment paper, and I'll bring them into view once we start prepping the pans for baking. I'm doing a few things ahead of time. So I have my electric mixer, and that's where we're going to be doing our creaming. But first we're going to be whisking our dry ingredients together. So we have 1 1/4 cups of bread flour. Did she say bread flour? Uh-huh. I said bread flour. Bread flour is going to make these cookies chewy. Just that little bit of extra protein makes them sort of chewy. So they're not crispy, they're chewy. And I love that about my chocolate fudge cookies. So 1/4 cup of bread flour. And then I have 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now that's a very low amount of salt, but what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of sea salt on top of each cookie before it goes in the oven. Now, this is our first hit, our first blast of chocolate. This is 3/4 cup of Dutch processed cocoa powder. Now, that's cocoa powder that is not acidic, all right? So it will not react with chemical leaveners like baking soda, which needs an acid. And this has a dark, rich, chocolatey flavor and color. And it adds that beautiful, beautiful sort of black beauty color to your cookies. Beautiful. And we're going to whisk everything up. All right. Just whisk it so that it's homogeneously blended. All right, make sure you get that going because sometimes the cocoa sort of clumps up a little bit because it's got a natural starch in it. All right, now we're ready with that part. Now we're going to go to our electric mixer and we're going to cream 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, I should say, unsalted butter, 6 tablespoons. And then we have 3/4 cup of granulated sugar, and we have 3/4 cup of brown sugar that is packed. Light brown sugar. If you like dark, use dark. I love dark brown sugar. I really do. Now with your paddle attachment, I got to go grab my paddle attachment. I'm always baking. It's a working kitchen, you know? So here we go. So we're going to put our paddle attachment on here, and we're going to let it go till it's somewhat light and fluffy. Now, while that gets going, I've also done some melting, all right, some beautiful melting. So I'm checking my recipe because there's so many delicious ingredients. This is our hit of 2nd and 3rd type of chocolate. So right here, I have 1 1/2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate that's been chopped, not unsweetened, semi-sweet. I put it in here to melt along with 3 ounces of unsweetened chocolate. And the more you chop that up, the faster it'll melt. And I have it over a double boiler. So that means you heat up a saucepan with about 1 inch of water to the boiling, take it off the heat, and put a separate bowl on top with your chocolate. So you have 2 chocolate, unsweetened and semi-sweet. Now, when you take it off the heat, because it's fully melted, I'm going to get rid of my water. And then you're going to be sure that you take some sort of a dry towel or cloth and wipe, because you don't want to add extra wet ingredients or water into your other ingredients for your batter, because that will dilute the batter. We don't want to do that. All right, so I'm somewhat light and fluffy. There's more sugar than butter, so it's not going to be as light and fluffy as you want it to be, like you would make for a cake. Don't worry about it. That's exactly the way it should be. Now on low speed, I'm going to add 2 eggs, and I'm going to add 1 egg at a time on low speed. All right. So sort of 1 1/2 went in. It sort of slipped in the pool with the other one. That's okay. Make sure that you mix. Don't rush it. Don't be in a rush. And let that egg incorporate. And then you're going to follow that with your second egg. All right. So now, I'm just going to make sure that we're going to add our chocolate next on low speed. All right. So we have this glorious chocolate, 2 chocolates, and we're going to add that right to our egg, sugar, and butter mixture. And you're going to do it carefully because you don't want it going all over you. So I'm just going to do it slow. Slow and steady. Oh, it looks like a chocolate waterfall. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This gives such incredible chocolatey flavor to these cookies. I love them. And you can freeze them and always have them ready. And they make great ice cream sandwiches as well, with any flavor ice cream you want. So I'm going to put that in there. So I melted this chocolate over that hot water, and the water was never touching the bottom of this bowl, because otherwise you will overheat your chocolate and it could scorch it. All right. So now that that luscious chocolate is in there, I have 1/2 cup of sour cream. That's the sour cream part of our chocolate fudge cookies. And I put about a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract right into the sour cream, so I just have to add it together. So now I'm going to put that in there. And then we add our dry ingredients, but we're not done yet. More chocolate! More chocolate's going to go in. Never fear. All right, dry ingredients. And if you notice, when we make a actual creaming method cake, we usually we alternate our dairy ingredients or our wet ingredients with our dry. Here, because it's a cookie and we're doing a little bit of a modified hybrid of that, we're going to add all our dry ingredients together. So make sure you put this on low speed, and I'll show you my batter in a minute. We're going to slowly add our dry ingredients. Just keep adding them. Just keep adding them. And the batter's going to get darker and more chocolatey because we're adding now our Dutch processed cocoa mixture. These are sort of crinkly and wrinkly when you bake them, and I love that about them. I used to send these to my publisher in the mail, in a basket, just to say, hey, thanks for all your help before my books were published. And they always appreciated these. These were their favorites. All right. Now we're not done yet. So once the dry ingredients are in, once the dried ingredients are in, I want you to see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to get a big, big bowl. I'm going to take my paddle off. Look at that. Is that chocolate batter or what? Oh yeah. That is like the best chocolate batter. So before I do anything, I want to clean my bowl around. You know how it is in your electric mixing bowls. Sometimes things get stuck around the sides. So you want to make sure, because there's that little bubble, that little button on the bottom of the bowl, that little metal. So you want to make sure you go around and get everything blended in. And because I want you to see what I'm doing, I am going to put this in a glass bowl because now we're going to add our final addition of chocolate. And it's going to be 1.5 cups of semi-sweet chocolate, high quality semi-sweet chocolate chips. Try to get some that have cocoa butter in them. You don't want anything with the vegetable shortening because it will not taste as good. And these, in every bite, when you bite into these cookies, you're going to taste chocolate, and then you're going to taste maybe a little bit of a extra bit of chocolate. So it's going to sort of be like this, melt in your mouth. Some will be in the batter and some will be loose. So when you try that, you'll see what I mean, okay? 1.5 cups of chocolate, boop, right in there. And we're just going to fold these in. You don't want to overmix, you just want to fold them in. And it is easier if you do it with a rubber spatula. Don't do it with your paddle attachment because you're going to hear bump, 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 bump. It's going to be very sort of an obnoxious sound, and you want to just get everything in. You don't want any chips getting stuck on the bottom. Because I want chips in every mouthful. I know you do. I know you do too. Because we are chocolate lovers, all right? And us chocolate lovers, we have to unite. We really do. So I'm going to grab my parchment lined sheet pan. I have like it's about maybe a 2 tablespoon ice cream scoop. You can use a spoon and a rubber spatula. And I'm going to make sort of giant ones. I did spray the inside with nonstick cooking spray in there. You don't have to, you do. It makes the first couple of ones come out easier. Now you can make them gigantic, or you can make them smaller and use a smaller ice cream scoop. So I'm going to fill that up, and I'm going to put that down. Oh yeah, you just know what that's going to be like. That's just going to be amazing. And I'm going to spread them out. We just don't want them too close together. So depending on how many you make, it should make up to 3 dozen, depending on how many. If they're super big, you may only make maybe a couple of dozen, maybe 24. But if you make them, these are big. These are big, all right? So I'm not going to get 3 dozen. Oh, woe is me. I'll have fewer cookies, but they'll be bigger. Win-win. I love them. You can even chill this batter if you wanted and make these another day, or freeze it. Do whatever you want. These are going to bake about 18 minutes in a 325-degree Fahrenheit oven. But first, we are going to sprinkle with a little sea salt. You can even use Molden salt if you want. That's a salt that looks like little pyramid shapes. And sometimes if I want, and I want to already start the process of them growing more, I'll gently press them down with like moistened hands so they just get bigger. But this way, you're going to get bigger, fatter, chewier cookies. And they're actually going to have these like little crater cracks in them, which I love. That's indicative of a chocolate fudgy cookie. So into the oven for about 18 minutes. They're still going to be a little soft. Let them cool, and they will firm up as they cool at room temperature. So my salted sour cream fudge cookies just came out of the oven. Oh my goodness, can I smell them? It's like intoxicating with chocolate. So these are the unbaked, lovely. These are the baked. Look at them, crackled, spread out, chewy, chocolatey. You can see chips, you can see little bits of that flaky sea salt. Don't you just want to dig into one of those? I hope you make these, because these are going to be your go-to chocolate fudge cookies. Oh, your kids are going to want them. Your husbands and spouses and spices are going to love them. Your loved ones are going to love them. I hope you make them. I hope you become a subscriber. Till next time.